T-Mobile gives you more ways than ever to get out there with America's largest 5G network and the epic iPhone 12 with 5G on us. Whether you're hitting the road,
check out this great 4K video. I even posted it with 5G way out here.
Or getting the team together. Right now, current and new customers get up to 4 iPhone 12s on us on our Max plan with eligible trade-ins. Only at T-Mobile.
Each phone on us via 24 credits plus tax for well-qualified buyers. If you cancel credit, stop, and balance on required finance agreements may be due. Contact us. See 5G coverage, access, and offer details at T-Mobile.com.
Switching to Geico is a good idea, especially when you consider everything.
First off, Geico makes it easy to switch. They have licensed agents available 24/7 online or over the phone.
But if it's so easy, you might start thinking everything is easy, even big wave surfing. And it's not. It's actually quite difficult.
Well, if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds on car insurance. And you could keep saving by bundling your motorcycle, boat, and RV, plus your home or renter's insurance.
But saving money might lead you to make some questionable purchases, like a 20-foot feather boa. And do you know how hard it is to clean a 20-foot feather boa?
Well, they do have an industry-leading mobile app you can use to pay your bill, file and manage a claim, or add a new driver.
But when life gets a little easier, it makes you too confident, and you start calling everyone Ace. And you're better than that.
Well, Geico has a 97% customer satisfaction rating and has been saving people money for 85 years. It's hard to beat that.
But you're right.
Switch to Geico. It's obviously a good idea.
Hello, it is Adam, and we had the incredible opportunity to speak with Peter Cornell over Zoom video. Peter is the older brother to Chris Cornell, and he has had an incredible journey in music, and we talk all about that. And he just opened up an incredible coffee shop called Cornell Brothers Coffee in Nolensville here in the Nashville area. Peter talks about growing up in Seattle and how he got into music. He talked about picking up the guitar for the first time, starting to write songs for the first time. He spent a while on a boat, like sailing around the world. And when he got back, he kind of showed his brother some songs he had been working on. And Chris ended up teaching him how to record on a 4-track. He talked to us about the first band he started. His sisters were actually in that first band, moving to New York, forming his next band called Black Market Radio. He put out a solo record. He had some songs appear in different TV shows like The Vampire Diaries. And he told us about co-writing a song on the new Candlebox record. But we learned a lot about his passion for coffee, obviously coming from Seattle, and starting Cornell Brothers Coffee. You can watch our interview with Peter Cornell on our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Bringing It Backwards. We'd love it if you subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Bringing Back Pod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with Peter Cornell. This podcast is about you, your journey in music, and of course, we can talk about the new coffee shop that you opened up.
Great, thank you. How you doing?
I'm great. Just actually
What's that
recently.
Gold record?
That's the Struts.
Oh,
The Struts?
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was
Yeah.
actually had the opportunity to be the first DJ in the country to play them on the radio, and then they ended up selling 500,000 copies.
Wow, that's great. That's so cool. That's a lot of copies in this era, right?
Right. It took them about 5 years, but I love those guys and I appreciate them.
That's awesome. Awesome. Cool.
Yes,
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. I can't wait to hear your story in this crazy music industry.
Oh, once upon a time. I mean, I cut my teeth in the 90s in Seattle. It hit the ground running. I mean, in the late 80s, I was surrounded by a lot of guys, including my brother and his colleagues, his peers, that were all this music was being made and guys were writing songs. And that to me was the most fascinating thing I have ever heard of, was writing a song. I plinked and plunked on the guitar a little bit, but I didn't really, I wasn't a great player. I wasn't a classical player or anything. I just beat around on the thing a little bit. And I was so inspired by songwriters. How does that happen? What takes place to connect the dots on that? And and that's where it started. I had an opportunity to write a bunch of music, and I was on an adventure. I was sailing around the world on a boat, and I was in the middle of the ocean, and had some really profound experiences, as you're gonna do when you're out on a boat sailing around the ocean and you're a young man in your 20s. I wrote a couple of songs, and that turned into a couple more. And then when I came back to the States, things were in full speed ahead in Seattle, and my brother was, he was right at the forefront of it. He was the leader of it all. I was around him and Andy a lot, and Andy Wood. And I played a few of my little songs for him, and I was like, what do I do now? What's next? And he said, well, go. And he taught me, my brother Chris taught me how to record on a 4-track that he had in his little cupboard in his house. So I recorded a few songs, and then, he and I bought a big 8-track reel-to-reel with a really cool board, a real pro setup. And, his band was rehearsing in my house, and I started recording, and then I got a little body of music recorded. I was like, okay, what do I do now? What's next? And verbatim, he said, well, you start a band, you idiot. And that had never occurred. That had never occurred to me. How simple. Okay, that makes sense. So there was certainly no lack of players.
I'm sure in Seattle at the time, right?
Yeah, I started a band, and we rehearsed and we rehearsed for about 6 months and learned some songs and got our first show. And 1991, May 1st, 1991, May 1st or May 31st, May 31st, 1991, at the Swan in Pioneer Square in Seattle, and we hit the ground running. I mean, by the end of that show, we had a following, and we had a manager, and we were off to the races.
Wow.
And it was never a matter of if, and that was, that we would get a deal, and that was between me and my brother. It was never an if, it was a when, and having him in my corner and as my mentor, it was, it was always, the exposure was great. We were under a microscope, but it was a fun microscope to be under, because
I'm sure you were, right? Just because people are probably constantly comparing you to what Soundgarden was doing.
And we were apples and oranges. I mean, we were sort of Tom Petty meets the Grateful Dead meets Peter Cornell and his wild adventures,
Sure.
We were a kind of a jammy jam band. We were a hippie band. I was certainly more hippie than I was anything in those days. And so we were very different. And it was always my purposeful motive to make sure that I wasn't, I didn't, except for having the same name, I tried, I was always making sure that I wasn't trading on the name, that it was because, we were out there and we were slinging legitimately. And we worked really hard. Worked really hard. I just wasn't a very good songwriter in those days. I didn't have that tune, that song. And in those days it was, it was about the radio, getting on the radio, and that radio hit. I heard that so many times, that phrase, that radio hit, I didn't have it. I wrote 7-minute songs, they all had 5-minute lead guitar solos in them.
Sure.
I love that kind of music, man. Right. I loved it. So, that was me in the 90s, and we played up and down the coast and into Canada and east, into the towns in the Northwest, and into Montana and all those places, and we did very well. We just didn't break to the big leagues,
Sure, but I mean, there's something to be said about having a long career versus having one song on the radio. And I've actually talked to a lot of artists that have been in that similar predicament, or actually a lot of artists that have famous family members, famous fathers, or famous, you know, and it's like, I feel to me, it's like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, you already had you had the opportunity because your dad or your brother or your sister or whatever is already in the scene. But it's like, in reality, you have to have the songs, and you have to, have the drive, or it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Who cares that your brother was Chris, or your dad was in Kiss, or whatever it was? You know what I mean?
I wish my dad was in Kiss.
I had a chance to chat with Sophie Sims' sister and Paul Stanley's kid too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're both in music.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So it was, it was a great run, and it was a springboard to my next thing, which was, I moved to New York and reinvented myself and had a really great run, made the best record and did the best work that I'd ever done. I learned how to be a better guitar player, a better songwriter, and a better singer. And I put out a great record. Our band was called Black Market Radio, and we toured on that record for 3 or 4 years.
Is that the band that you're in with your two of your sisters, right? Or is that the different band?
No, that was my first band. That was my first band. That was Inflatable Soul. Yeah, I always had this, vision in my head of backup singers. I loved the Stones. Always had this great backup singers, and God, who else? I mean, there's so many like that, and I had that vision, and it ended up becoming my sisters. They just were around, and they're like, "Hey, we want to do that," and so we just rehearsed in my house, and yeah, they were in the band, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of success, and on to New York. I did Black Market Radio, and then I did a solo record after that, and I ended up getting some songs published in television programs, and I just co-wrote a song with Kevin Martin from Candlebox.
Oh yeah,
on their new record.
That's so rad. Yeah. I did read that. Yeah, those guys are great too. I had a chance to
they're great,
interview
man.
A couple of the guys from Candlebox. So cool. And a couple of the guys are in another band. I can't remember with Don. Don Miggs. Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, Kevin's been doing some stuff with them.
Yeah, they're a cool band too. They just released a record, but that's awesome. So yeah, it sounds like you're still writing and
absolutely
heavily involved in the music scene.
Absolutely. I've got a couple projects going that aren't the coffee business, and so yeah, I've got a couple things doing. I'd like to do a little more writing with Kevin, because I think that song came out great. And it's a good rock song. Their record's great, by the way. I don't know if you've gotten it yet, or if I know it's not out yet. But
yeah, I think they wasn't it supposed to come out last year, I think, and then it
obviously yeah. But it is a great rock record. It's a real record. It plays like a record for me.
That's awesome.
I think it's 11 songs, and I go 7 or 8 songs deep before I hit something where I might not be my my favorite, but God, man, there's so many great songs on that record. Kevin shows lyrics and vocals like his best ever, I think, and he's done some great records. It's really cool. And we had a grand opening here at our coffee business on the 5th of June, and Brian Quinn, who's the lead guitar player in that band, he flew in from Philly and sat in with me, and I hadn't played for a long time, and I've been trying to play with Brian for like 15 years. Our bands toured together when I was in Black Market Radio in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and I'd always wanted to play with him. He's a great player, and I really liked him. We were really good. His band was called Foster Child in those days, and they were out of Pennsylvania. And so we finally got to play together, and it was really amazing. He's such a great player, and it makes me a better player, when I play with somebody who's good like that. So it was really fun. I'm going to open for Candlebox in November in Seattle.
Oh, you are. They're doing. I know they're playing in Nashville too. I saw.
They are. Yeah, they just did last week. I think. They play. I think we were the first. It was the first show on their tour, on this leg of their tour.
Oh, they did already play. I did see that they were coming up.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. They were here rehearsing. I'm not sure if they. I think their first show was here. Maybe not. Maybe it's on the next leg. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to see them. I was out of town for a minute when they were here, so I didn't get to see them. But last week. But yeah, so it was a show, me opening for them. I'm going to do acoustic set opening for them in November, which was supposed to be last October. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
So
it's going to be close to my hometown.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So you started the shop is here or Nolensville or where? Yeah. It's here in Nashville area, surrounding area.
Nolensville is about 5 miles away from Brentwood. I live right on the corner of Brentwood, and we're in the same neighborhood here. It's about 5 minutes from my house. And Nolensville is it's a super old little village that was founded in 1797. And it's blowing up. I don't know how else to say it. There's a lot of people moving here. There's a lot of a lot of buildings and retail and residential being built here. And it's really exploding, and it's the whole region has done really well economically and certainly real estate wise. And this particular little burg of Nolensville is really just it's right in that stage of just happening. And so we feel really lucky, we got here and we opened up our shop here and we're doing really well. We're doing really, really well.
My wife had a chance to go there. I don't know if she saw you. Yeah. Okay. I thought she met you. Yeah. She loved it. She kept ranting and raving about how rad it is. I want to know, when did you get to Brentwood? How long have you lived in the area and what took you here?
We came here a couple years ago. We've been here a little over 2 years. And there's a school here that's particularly good for our boy who's starting 4th grade. About an hour ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know. My kids I have a 13-year-old who just started 8th grade yesterday. Yeah. And my 5-year-old starts kindergarten. Well, he had like his boot camp kindergarten boot.
Yeah. Yeah, school's back.
And we'll find out who his teacher is today. They do it a little different for kindergarten, but it's bizarre. So,
no, it's cool.
That's awesome. So you've been out here for a couple of years, and how long has the coffee shop been around, or the company?
Official opening was June 5, but we really started putting the rubber to the road on it in January. So we moved pretty quick. It's something I'd thought about doing for a long time, and the last couple of years that I was here, I was, for all practical purposes, I was retired and just working on some real estate stuff. And it was time to do something else. And I'd wanted to do this for a while, and it wasn't hard to do, especially with a wife who's a genius. And she does all of the hard behind the scenes paperwork and numbers crunching and stuff, and I just
my wife for this podcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if it wasn't for her, this thing would be sinking.
Yeah, absolutely the truth. So I get to once we started, once we opened, and then I get to make coffee and be the Cornell brother, and it's pretty good deal for me. It's a pretty good deal. So, and we went into a shop that was a shop for the last couple of years, and they changed their brand a little bit, and they didn't need all the space they had when they opened. And so we sublet a little spot, and the idea seemed like a good idea, and a local juice company that was looking for a spot. So we've got 3 businesses inside this co-op market and the business model, it plays very well for the community. It was the right thing at the right time, and it's got the right energy, and we're all good at what we do, all 3 companies. And so we're enjoying just a really wonderful start to this thing. I'm spoiled. I'm like ready to open the second one, and which is going to happen sooner than later because we've had such a good, successful opening, and it's been, that we've been embraced by the community, and, we're working hard, but it's worth every minute of it. When you own the company, it doesn't feel like you're going to work,
That's cool. Yeah. Can I make a suggestion? South Williamson County?
Yeah. Yeah. Do what? South Williamson County? Yeah. Like where at? Where are you at?
Around Thompson Station.
Thompson Station. Yeah. We're thinking that direction, for sure.
I know Brian Brian Head of Corn has a shop, or not a shop, but he has like this therapeutic like place down here. They do like hydro massage and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
In Spring
in
Hill.
Thompson Station.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Spring Hill, Thompson Station. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's interesting. Like I'll talk to these people, and there's so many people here in town. Like, because we're from San Diego, California, and we had never been here. We just wanted, just super intrigued by everything, and wanted to, get a better, bigger place for my family and my kids to grow up.
Right.
And we got here, and it's like talk. Like that. Imagine living this area, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I live in Brentwood," or "Oh yeah, I live in Franklin," or "I live in Nashville."
Yeah.
Like, what? It's not a country town anymore as much, That's what I was
at all
when I moved here. So
yeah, not at all. I had no idea. I mean, we had talked about leaving LA for a while, and I would have never picked Tennessee. Tennessee picked us.
Same
You know,
here.
the school picked us, and the rest of it was chips fall as they may, and they've fallen so well for us. We love the area, and my wife is from San Diego.
Really?
And
Do you know
lived in
a part?
LA for a long time. Chula Vista.
Okay,
Grew up
cool.
in Chula Vista, yeah, but lived all over, and then lived in LA for the last couple decades, and so we would have neither of us would have picked Tennessee if we were just picking a place to go, but it picked us, and I mean, we can't say enough. The economy's been great, and the real estate's been great for us, and the neighbors. We live in a great neighborhood with great neighbors, and I thought I was going to be worried. I was worried about being landlocked. We found that there's an awful lot of lakes here, and, and we get out on the lake, and we enjoy it. We get to enjoy the region. Like it's just great. I have, I can't say enough. It's green.
Mhm.
We have deer and wild turkeys and rabbits and owls and you name it in our yard.
Armadillos, which was weird to see.
Oh yeah, right. They're having a rough summer too, man. They're having a rough summer. I've seen a lot of squished.
I know.
Armadillos.
I never
Yeah.
seen one. And we're walking our dog outside. And
Yeah.
this weird thing runs by, and my older son's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It looks like an armadillo," and I had to Google to see if that's what it was. And then after I saw some squished ones, unfortunately, but it's bizarre to see them.
They are getting squished. Like possums too. I saw a run of possums over the weekend that there was a half a dozen of them driving around over here where they got squished. So I'm sorry for the possum and armadillo population in this region.
Armadillo. Sure.
Having a tough year, but no, it's great, man. It's great, and my wife loves the weather. She loves the rain, and we got our first. Our son and my wife had never seen snow before this year here.
Oh, I heard it. We
a real
moved.
Snowfall.
Yeah, it got pretty. It snowed pretty well, right? I mean,
really well.
Yeah,
for reals. Yeah.
So we moved. It's funny, like when it was dumping snow here and the windmills were frozen in Texas, we decided to move the weekend following that. Yeah. So we left like the Monday after everything was, but like we kind of drove into everything melting, which was nice. I mean, we missed all the water shortage and all that stuff and power outages. Yeah. And by the time we got to Nashville or around the area, they just had the snow piles kind of on the side of the
Cool.
freeways and stuff. So my kids got to go jump on the parking lot snow, but we didn't get to see any fall. So hopefully this winter it'll snow again.
Hopefully. Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, they get one here every three winters. We had some friends that moved here a little before us, a couple years before us, and they had a good snowfall their first winter. But it was so great. I mean, our first sledding and our first snowball fight and our first snowman and it was great.
Amazing.
Catching snowflakes on our tongues, all that little stuff, that's so cool.
Yeah, you miss in Southern California because there's absolutely no seasons.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was a concern though. The no seasons thing was a concern, and it's been, been no problem for my wife and my son to adapt. They love it.
Yeah, we love it here too. It was the best thing for us. I want to know a little bit more about your coffee shop real quick. So how did you get into coffee? It was just something you wanted to do, and like, how do you start?
Since the late, really, it was with my grandpa when I was growing up. He had MS, and he was in a wheelchair most of my life, and so he had to be really careful. He had to be really careful what he put in his body, and caffeine was one of the things that he just wasn't supposed to do a lot of, and so he very much respected coffee and cherished it because it was something he really loved to drink, but was limited. So he when I was growing up, I mean, he had like one of those old Italian espresso maker things. He and my grandma had that on their stove, from an early age, and they had, the latest drip coffee maker and the latest French press, and a French press. And so I was introduced early on of the different methods, and then our parents were coffee heads for sure, and always had the latest state-of-the-art Mr. Coffee that you could program, and that would practically walk the coffee into you in the morning. So we grew up every morning with the smell of coffee in the house. I mean, it was the first thing all of our days started with, our whole childhood, and then just my respect for it And then Seattle, was kind of a leader at the forefront of espresso joints.
Obviously Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks,
Right.
and they weren't the only game in town. They're the most successful business model for espresso joints in the history of the espresso joints. But there was other places. And everybody kind of had their own spot in their neighborhood after a while. At first everybody's like $3 coffee. That's nuts, But we all kind of had our spot. If we liked it, if you liked espresso, then you have that spot down the block. Certainly when I lived in New York, that was like that. And I had a spot when I lived in Seattle that I went to every morning. I played my guitar, sat on the sidewalk, and I wrote some of my first songs sitting over a big old pile of espresso. And playing at a coffee place. And, how cliche is that? So it was always something on my mind. And because I only drink espresso on ice. So I want a good tasting espresso because it's very potent. It has a very distinctive taste, and it's, it can be bad espresso really quick. It's not just because you run it through that machine makes it magic, so there's a lot to it. So over the years, I just learned more and more about it, and then really started studying the things I didn't know about it really hard. And just, it was sort of groomed myself to do this business. And then it finally came around where, I had the means and the time and the location and a new life here in Tennessee. And it just sort of the stars lined up, and it came together really easily for us. It seemed like a very smart, natural thing to do. And so I named it after my grandfather and his brothers, who my grandfather was a huge influence in my life. And his brothers, two of his three brothers, I grew up with them. One of them I'm named after. The other one was, just, a fixture in my life. I mean, I used to play this guy. He was in his mid 70s and I was in my 20s, and he was the senior champion of Spokane in racquetball.
Really?
Uncle Harvey. And
That's rad.
And he would take me out. We'd go over to the University of Washington intramural building, and he would mop the floor with me. And he was 73, and he didn't even break a sweat. And there was this mezzanine up on top where you could watch players. And by the time we'd finished, the whole thing would be just packed with people watching this old man just beat the crap out of me. And, so these guys, I mean, the Cornell brothers were my guys. My grandfather was my guy. He was like my dad. And so it's an homage to them.
I love it.
Obviously my brother Chris, and it's just it was all just so natural, and it just came together so nicely. And our logo and our brand and our, I'm able to work with a really great. I partnered with a really great roaster here. And we roast together, and we source beans that are specific to our needs and small batch. So we get, we have relationships with some farms and relationships with some smaller brokers, and we get some great stuff. We pay a little more for it, but it's worth every nickel because I didn't reinvent the wheel with this thing, man. But so it's my goal to do a good job with it. And I know what a good coffee should taste like, a good drip coffee or a good cold brew or a good espresso. I know what they should taste like. And I'm confident that that's what we're doing here. I'm very, very happy about it. Very proud of it.
And you have coffee from all over. I mean, Ethiopia, Brazil, El Salvador, looks like Peru. I mean, is that sourced that way? Like, do you have to? Yeah.
Well, we had a Guatemalan that we've been using for cold brew and for drip a little bit. And it's because it's small batch and they're smaller farms and the relationships that we have. The Guatemala season, I mean, we're at the end of that season. We're at the end of that harvest. So it'll come back around the Guatemala in about 6 months. So now we've shifted and replaced that for our cold brew with an El Salvadoran that also makes a great drip coffee. But that's what we're able to do. We're able to, rotate. We have like 8 or 10 different varieties and countries and farmers and brokers, and that we can then, when the Guatemalan runs out, now we can get the El Salvadoran. And then we just put a Costa Rican that we're able to get for a while.
Awesome.
A smaller batch. We just put that on our menu. We have an Ethiopian that just changed to a natural washed and that we're using for our drip coffee. So we get to enjoy some variety strictly by necessity. And and it's working great. You know, it's working great for us. The Costa Rican's great. The El Salvadoran is a family that's the 6th generation of the same family that's farming these beans in El Salvador. I mean, that's great, man. I mean, I love that. It's the same vibe I have doing business in my community where I hang out, where I live, where I work. You know, we do everything here in Nolansville because it's just around the corner from where we live. And I love that. I always did business that way. No matter where I was living, I like to use the local place that's near my house that's going to see my face and know my name, you know? And that's what I'm hoping to establish here. And so far it's gone pretty well.
I love that. And are you you must be, my wife ran into you. You must be there pretty often. So
I'm here a lot right now. I have a really small staff and I use them sparingly because, you know, I don't want to ask anybody to do anything that I haven't done, including, you know what, go clean the toilet if it needs to be done. You know, I just like to know everything about it and be able to knowingly direct people to do things without, you know, being overbearing and say, hey, I did it. I know how, you know, I know what it takes to fix that or clean that or what we have to do to make that happen. And so I'll probably do this another couple months. We're shopping for our second location. And when that comes online, then I'll, you know, I'll be there busy developing that spot and I'll give this spot a little bit, you know, I'll let the staff get more involved. But for right now, I'm happy to be here. My wife comes down on Saturdays and works with me, which is just, it's great. It's amazing.
That's awesome. You know, I'll have to take my wife down there on a Saturday so we can
please. Yeah.
Because she already had a chance to experience it. I haven't been there yet. So I need to get out there.
Yeah. That was early on too. That was the first, we weren't here. We weren't open very long when I met your wife.
Yeah. And she, like I said, she loved it over there.
Cool.
So you can buy the coffee online on your website on CornellBrothersCoffee.com.
Yeah.
And can you buy it where do you ship all around the US or how does that work?
We actually just, night before last, we changed our web store platform to Shopify, and we are now able to ship internationally.
Wow.
That was why we changed. We had a different platform and the international shipping was a real puzzle. And so we switched to Shopify. We released a couple of new beans, the Costa Rican and the El Salvador, and we now are able to offer international. So
that's awesome.
It's cool because through social media, I have a lot of people that I interact with that are, you know, out of the country, South America, Australia, you know,
I'm
big
sure.
in Australia.
Yeah. Amazing.
No, it's great and the support is just, you know, the support that we've received from fans of my music, fans of my brother's music, fans in general, you know, people in general. People come to the shop to pay respect. You know, the people drive 3-4 hours from Kentucky so they can have a cup of coffee and say, cool. Hey man, we want to support you in this. I mean, I've had people come in from Indiana and people come in from Ohio and people come, you know, from all across the country to just, you know, get a cup of coffee, show support, pay respect to the memory of my brother, the family name, whatever it might be, you know, unbelievable. You know, it's chilling for me. It's unbelievable.
I will say I had my wife and I had a chance to meet your brother once and he was so sweet and he signed a record for us and it was just like such a moment. Like he came, I've met a lot of you know, big music artists in my day in this business and just meeting him, he just had this presence where you're like, you just knew how like impactful he was. And like, I mean, when we met him, we were just like, most my wife and I were like, that was like, it was weird. Like, it's hard to explain. I can't even explain it to you, but it was just like,
he's a good man. He's a good man. And you know, we miss him every day. Love him and miss him every day.
Yeah. He was, so he touched so many people, lives of so many people. And it's so, on a lighter note, real quick, you said you got to played the opening of the
I did. We
house?
threw a little sound system. I mean, why not? Coffee house. It's kind of where music was invented, wasn't it? Right. I mean, we're going to do it more often.
I was going to ask you, is that something you're going to continue?
Yeah. We're wanted to get our feet wet a little bit before we bit off more than we could chew, but that is on the that's on our list, priority list. In fact, I got a call with a guy today who's going to help me with the sound system. So we'll just put a little system in there that's sort of, out of the way, and a little stage. And it's Nashville, man.
I was going to say, you could get some big people to come in there, I'm sure, really easily. Oh, my God.
I'm in my truck in the parking lot. By the time I walk back across the parking lot, I'll run into somebody. That's awesome. The way it is done, we had that night of our opening, or that day of our opening, we had, there's this band here, Bennett Hall Band, these three sisters. The oldest one, I think, is 13 and the youngest is 7. Whoa. And they play around. They've opened for some big country artists. They do a little cover set, and they're amazing. And so, we'll do stuff like that. And I'll play and I got a buddy up the street whose dad was Elvis's bass player. My friend Darren Sheff. His dad was Jerry Sheff, and so Darren, he's got his finger in music and knows a lot of folks. And my wife's in the business. It just seems like a natural thing to do, And it's Nashville. Everybody wants to hear music here, so
yeah.
The space lends itself to it. We have a really open, high 20-foot ceiling place, so. It's it lends itself to it. I think they're more like 30. It's really high anyway. It sounds good in there. I sounded good in there. If I sounded good in there, you can make anybody sound good in there. So it's yeah. So we look forward to it. That'll be up and running, and we'll make an announcement when that happens. But I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait, and I'm gonna come. We'll be there sooner than like later.
Cool.
To come say hello to you, and maybe we'll come on a Saturday, you and your wife, and like I said, my wife loved it, and I cannot wait to check it out myself.
Cool. Great.
And I appreciate you doing this, Peter. This has been so awesome.
My pleasure, man. Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more question for you before I let you get back to work. Yeah. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh, man. Perseverance. Okay. Perseverance. Just stick with it, I did it for a long, long time before I felt like I was a success at it, and just keep going. Don't hesitate to reinvent yourself if it ain't working, and collaborate. I learned a lot through collaboration, and keep pushing yourself, keep pushing yourself. If you're a guitar player, pick that guitar up every day, man. And don't be constrained by the rules. Just make noise, and you will find your own noise. It's amazing, and that's so gratifying.
If you're ready to lose weight, it's time to stop dieting and let Noom put psychology to work. Unlike restrictive crash diets, detox cleanses, or any of the other questionable weight loss fads on the market, Noom's award-winning program helps you form sustainable habits that last. With Noom, no food group is off limits, and there's no complicated calorie counting either. Instead, Noom's cognitive behavioral approach helps you better understand and manage your relationship with food, one meal at a time. Whether your goal is to feel more energized, boost your mood, or finally lose those 5 pounds for good this time, Noom gives you the tools to make it happen. It takes just 10 minutes a day. And because Noom is tailored to your goals and based on leading evidence-based psychology and nutrition science, you always get the expert guidance and support you need to make lasting progress. Start building healthy habits today. Sign up for your trial at Noom.com/balance. That's NOOM.com/balance.
T-Mobile gives you more ways than ever to get out there with America's largest 5G network and the epic iPhone 12 with 5G on us. Whether you're hitting the road,
check out this great 4K video. I even posted it with 5G way out here.
Or getting the team together. Right now, current and new customers get up to 4 iPhone 12s on us on our Max plan with eligible trade-ins. Only at T-Mobile.
Each phone on us via 24 credits plus tax for well-qualified buyers. If you cancel credit, stop, and balance on required finance agreements may be due. Contact us. See 5G coverage, access, and offer details at T-Mobile.com.